Alright everyone, this is episode number 95 today for the Austrian Grand Prix Season 6. If you missed the previous episode at Silverstone, I recommend you go and check that one out before seeing this one, because spoiler, obviously we failed to finish that one again. This time it was a turbocharger that failed us, so again, it's not a crucial part. I do think that we've got enough to get us to the end of the season. But the annoying thing is it leaves a hole in the points that we would have got, and we would have extended our lead. And that's ferocity went me for high risk in my contract negotiations. We deserve that extra money for the pain that has been caused at Silverstone and Imola, and that's exactly what Mercedes has agreed to pay us as well. Now, first of all, for Austria, we're going to have a wet sprint and a dry race. So that is going to be interesting. Obviously we'll be going for a dry setup because that's where the majority of the points are, and the sprint is only 6 laps. We've also got a new teammate for the second half of the season. Dan Ticktum has been fired. You know, he had a few good races, but other than that, only managed to score 1 point. Felipe Drugovich has replaced him. So he'll be our new teammate. Again, not being teammates with Felipe before in a career mode, so that will be interesting. I'm sure we're going to see a little bit more Felipe in F1 23 because he's, of course, the reigning F2 champion, and the F2 champion in the previous year always tends to end up in your career mode as other drivers retire. Anyway, into qualifying. Austria, I don't know why, but it's not a great track for me qualifying wise on F1 22. But because it's a sprint race and my race pace is always, as usual, pretty good around here. I think it's the exit of turn 3. I can never get the traction down against the AI, and obviously they've got a bit of OP traction compared to everyone else. We've actually lost time out of turn 3. I'm going to gain it back at turn 4, but it's not that great. Down in P14, so we go through the middle sector. The middle sector isn't my favourite, to be honest. Now we come through to the final sector. This is where I start gaining time. We always used to lose time in F1 2021, of course, with the AI having their supersonic speed, but gain time through this corner, the lovely fast right corner, through the final corner, hit that apex perfectly. It's only a 10th improvement though, and that's only enough for P15, not great. Norris is on pole as well for the sprint. Yeah, 7 tenths off. Well, you know, that's well, it's not game over. I think we can recover from this. So we'll see what we can do from 15th on the grid. It's time for today's sprint.
Well, the weather is not looking good today. We are expecting the downpours to continue into today's sprint. This will make for some tricky conditions for all the teams. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting sprint. Lando Norris will lead us away from pole position, and the smooth operator Carlos Sainz completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, TSUNODA, Max Verstappen and Vettel, Oscar Piastri, Albon, Gasly and Lewis Hamilton, Drugovich, Mick Schumacher, Esteban Ocon and Magnussen, Phoenix, Russell, Robert Schwartzman and Guan Yu Zhou, Stroll and Nicholas Latifi. And with preparations almost complete, let's head trackside for today's sprint.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down.
Oh, it's raining, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to lower the fuel limit because we don't need 2 laps of fuel in a 6-lap sprint race as well. So 5 red lights for the Austrian Grand Prix sprint, and away we go. And as usual in the wet, I always have an absolutely diabolical start with down to P18. But can we dart down the inside into turn 1, gain those positions back down the inside of the Alpha Tower? The Alpha Tower is going to take a bit of curbing there. It's going to lose some traction from trying to deploy the RS. It's Magnussen in the Alpha Tauri. Can we get Magnussen moving up to turn 3? Yes, we can. It's a big, huge dive bomb. I think we made up like 5 places at turn 3. Ahead of Hamilton, Schumacher as well, past the Alpine. You know, we just couldn't. Honest to God, I could not slow that down. It was, you know, that that car was just not stopping in time to make that corner. We're ahead of Drugovic as well, as had a poor start after being in the top 8. He had a horrendous start actually in his debut race. Albon goes defensive into turn 1. Thank you very much. We'll take the racing line, and we're a bit squiggly on the rear end, but we'll move up to P9. Next up, lap 4 is on Pierre Gasly, our former teammate from season 2. It's been a long time, Pierre, and of course, championship rival from the early part of last season. But now, of course, he's in a midfield car, really, and he's doing on the inside of Gasly and up to P8, and that robs Gasly of any chance of sprint point races, any sprint points, excuse me. Unfortunately for us, although I can set purple as the weather starts to dry a bit, the AI gains so much out of turn 3, it's a joke. They're like gaining 3-4 tenths every lap, and I can gain that time back, but that's the problem. It's as a result, especially in the rain, I'm not able to get Vettel, and in the end, it's only P8, which is a bit disastrous. I'm not going to lie. I was hoping for a bit more, mate, but the rain was, really hampered my progress up the grid. Lando Norris getting the full 8 points as well. So, well, we'll have to see. What can we do in the race? Time to find out.
This is it then, race day in Spielberg for this year's Austrian Grand Prix. Not long to go before our drivers hurtle off the line and into the first turn, the Niki Lauda curve, as it was renamed in 2019 in memory of one of Formula One's most beloved figures. The Spielberg circuit then is situated 700 metres above sea level, with just 10 corners making up one of the shortest laps of the season. One time around here is a distance of around 2.6 miles, with the best overtaking chances into turn 1 or the tight uphill turn 3. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Lando Norris put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he will start from pole position. And the smooth operator Carlos Sainz completes the front row. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Leclerc, Oscar Piastri, and Tsunoda, Vettel, Phoenix, Gasly, and Alex Albon, Hamilton, Mick Schumacher, Felipe Drugovic, and Ocon, Stroll, Joe, Robert Schwartzman, and Nicholas Latifi, Magnussen, and George Russell ends our grid lineup. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box, and it's fantastic to have you here with us today. But I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn 1, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It will keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down.
Thank the F1 gods it's dry. Race strategy is going to be our favour. One start for medium to soft as well. 8 laps on, it's actually 7 laps on softs, 11 on medium tyres as well. Seems to be the slightly faster than 8 on soft. So 5 red lights then to the Austrian Grand Prix, and away we go. It's the usual start in the dry, better than the wet. Going to be pincered, but we are going to try and go around the outside of Vettel. He gets the traction down though. We're unable to get Vettel. Albon looking pretty racy on those soft tyres in behind us. Now we're going to try and get Vettel here, directly inside of here. Almost also going to get Tsunoda. Yes, we can. Up to P6 now. That's a good start. Now we gain 2 positions. Now the momentum's with us. The more positions we gain on these mediums, the easier our second half of the race will be. As Albon actually went into the back of me there, as well. Lucky not to get any rear end damage. He's lost his front wing, which is a shame for him, as Alpine are finding points hard to come by in recent races. As well as we're watching Felipe Drugovich, he's battling Mick Schumacher. Schumacher not having the best of sprints after second in Canada. As well. Now this is being Austria. Yeah, you saw that. The pit lane entry. One of the Gasly, I think, in the Alpha Tower was coming in, and Hamilton just drove straight into the back of him, which is such a typical AI thing. And a virtual safety car's being deployed. TSUNODA, what were you thinking of doing a move like that? Here's a replay from on board with Yuki, virtual safety car deployed, and just decides to dive it down the inside of turn 1, which isn't going to happen because I'm taking the corner at the moment in time. He's tried to take me out and he's lost his front wing, and that is, that's his punishment for him. But what is he thinking of? Clearly, McLaren don't want me making progress as we easily overtake Oscar Piastri. Now, we'll look forwards as our teammate, though, in his debut, isn't having a great race and has suffered a Spinala at turn 4, and that's caused a car park, and that's brought out the safety car. So we're going to come into the pits then for our one and only stop onto a set of soft tyres. We did the strategy at Canada and it worked beautifully for us to give us the race win. I think this can work wonders as well. We'll have the tyre advantage on the safety car restart to get the tyres in front, and the advantage is we have jumped Leclerc as well because Red Bull had to double stack because their drivers were so close together. So Piastri hasn't decided to stop, so he has the race lead. Then it's Norris, Sainz, Leclerc, and Verstappen, and then myself. So can we get, the race win could be on here. We'll have to wait and see about that. First up though will be Max Verstappen in the Red Bull 4. He goes defensive just like we did in Albon in the sprint. We go round the outside at turn 1. Thank you very much. Up to P4, and that is crucial overtake not to get stuck behind Verstappen. He's not having the best of seasons. In actual fact, his teammates can have a go at him as well. Schumacher all over the back of both Red Bull as well. I think that's Ocon in the background as well. Up at turn 3, we're getting the moves done quickly. Down the inside of Carlos Sainz and up to P3. All of a sudden, we're starting to make some good moves. Now it is Esteban Ocon who's having a go down the inside of almost both Red Bulls. Doesn't get Verstappen, but does get Schumacher. As now we'll line up Lando Norris. Piastri is irrelevant, although we will probably look to overtake him and use Piastri as a buffer. But down the inside of Lando Norris, and that could be crucial for the championship. As I say, we need to outscore Norris today if we want to continue our championship fight. Otherwise, we might as well give up. And we're going to make easy work of Piastri. We wait, instead of going around the outside, take a better line. Try and take a better line through turn 1. Doesn't quite work out, but then we got DRS anyway through turn 2. We saved a bit of DRS, and we are up into the lead of the Austrian Grand Prix. Thank you very much. As well as Norris got a bit wayward. As Piastri is making his pit stop, and Sainz got a bit distracted, and that allowed Leclerc to overtake Sainz. But Sainz now is coming back at Leclerc. We could do with both of these, getting in front of Norris here as well. Sainz forces Leclerc out, especially Sainz, because he's not in the championship. He's nowhere near our top 4 championship fight compared to the other two Red Bulls, and of course Norris and myself. Sainz isn't really where near, but first he's got to negotiate Charles Leclerc and try and get clear of him, as well as they keep battling at turn 1. Sainz takes the defensive route and Leclerc ran the outside. So watching Pierre Gasly, and he spun around Schumacher. Schumacher is finally pauses and finally able to get through. That is Gasly's fault, to be honest, and that has caused another safety car because Russell just pile drived into the back of everyone and made a couple of DNFs. So yes, that's brought up a second safety car in this Austrian Grand Prix with myself leading. Now I did consider boxing for another set of softs, but decided against it. You know, we've only got to survive 3 laps. These softs have plenty of life on it. And also, I think for the first time in this game, I think we're doing a safety car restart from the lead of the Grand Prix. Try and catch Norris napping here, and look at the gap. It's increasing. We have caught him asleep into turn 1. That's good news for us. But we could have tried to run away and let Norris think about second. But we need to try and help Sainz and Leclerc out here, especially Sainz. I want Sainz. Definitely wouldn't mind helping Sainz get second place. So we're going to slow up Norris a little bit and allow Sainz to get involved. Norris all over the back of us, and Sainz has a little go into the final corner. They're going side by side, and Sainz is through into second, and Leclerc is having a go at Norris as well. Into turn 1. Norris will have the racing line though, forces Leclerc out, but Leclerc doesn't have any damage and will have DRS up the rear end. Round the outside then for Leclerc at turn 3. Leclerc now has DRS, Norris does not. Leclerc will have not the outside line for turn 4, and Norris brakes early, and Leclerc will complete the podium. This is a good win for us. Norris, our main championship rival, booted off the podium by Sainz and Leclerc. You might think it's a bit unsportsmanlike, but that's the type of driving we need if we're going to win a 4th championship in a row, as Lance Stroll gets drive for the day.
The Mercedes have pulled off a great victory here today. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
Well, you know what they say, to finish first you have to finish. And that fact was clear today, with lots of retirements having a big effect on the outcome of the race. As a driver, you tend to keep reliability concerns to the back of your mind and just focus on what's in front of you. But for the teams, races like this can be very stressful.
After an excellent performance at the Grand Prix, I'm sure there'll be plenty of celebrations tonight amongst the Mercedes team, and they certainly deserve it.
Second race win in 3 races. You know, this championship is not over yet. Sainz finished second as well. That will boost his points total, though he's not near the championship title challenge at this moment in time. Although he could, if he keeps his form up, start to mount one and make it a top 5 at the front. But this was crucial. We needed to win this race. We needed Norris not to be on that podium. If we had finished second, the gap wouldn't have been that great. As it happens, if Norris had finished second, he finished 4th. As well, Verstappen in the end dropped to 5th. Ocon finished 6th because Schumacher quite harshly got a 10-second penalty for that instant where Gasly took him out, which I thought was harsh. But the FIA have seen differently, and it's such a shame for Schumacher and Haas, because that would have been a lot more points for them. In terms of the standings, Norris still has a 7-point lead over Leclerc with 13 points back. Verstappen starting to drop out of this as Sainz gains as well. Constructors wide remain P5, no hope of getting anywhere near the top 4 really as well. But looking at the race director, really, Latifi getting penalties for that first safety car, and then Schumacher getting an illegal blocking, and then as well. And then severe collision with Gasly, which was not his fault whatsoever. And it's if I was Haas, if this was real life, then they would obviously appeal, and I think they would have been successful in that appeal, because that is ridiculous in my opinion. But there we go, that's the F1 game for you. In terms of our Sashi department, R&D believe they're on the verge of a major break from require your time in the simulator immediately. Would be missing your important meeting with the Sashi department. What should I tell them? I think we're going the simulator. We don't need to meet with the Sashi department, especially when we've got a maxed out car. So, third race win of this season. Norris has only got 2, but it's been a bit more consistent and has had one. Only had one. You know, he's had 1 DNF. Leclerc 3 race wins. As well, Sainz there, the outlier in today's race, getting 2nd place with the fastest lap. Could that be Ferrari mounting a challenge? We'll have to wait and see about that. So yes, the next episode of France will be out tomorrow, so if you have enjoyed, then leave a like, subscribe, and new to the channel. See plenty more F122 and F123 driver career mode videos as and when they come out. Until the next video then, I'll see you next time. Take care, enjoy your day, and goodbye.